Yeah, so I guess like going back just a step, a big shift for me was realizing that suffering was a choice.
Mm, mm, yeah,
That I was choosing to suffer every
yeah.
time I was suffering. It was actually me choosing to suffer.
It's very hard to. It feels so wrong to admit that, though, doesn't it? Like a lot of
Yeah,
people.
well, that's the ego, right?
Hey there, and welcome back to From Darkness to Light, the conversation series where I talk to healers, thought leaders, and artists from across the world on the subject of anxiety and depression. Today, I'm joined by Australian blues artist and all round spiritual warrior, Shaun Kirk. As soon as we met, we just clicked, and I knew that I wanted to bring his grounded, stoic approach on anxiety and depression into this space. His music has soul and grit, and it cuts right to the heart of what it means to struggle, but still rise above it. If you've enjoyed this conversation series as much as I've enjoyed making it, then please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel to grow. And here we are, just a conversation with me and my brother, chopping it up. I really hope you enjoy it. Won't you save my soul? 'Cause I'm losing hope. Mm, 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 mm. Shaun Kirk, my brother, good to
How you
speak with
doing,
you.
man?
I'm good, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm currently shacked up in a hotel room in far north Queensland over in Australia at the moment. So
You're on tour now
beautiful part
there.
of the world. Yeah, I went for a big walk in like a big rainforest today, and yeah, it's a pretty amazing part of the world. So I'm very lucky.
And the rainforest is like super, super old where you are, isn't it? It's like ancient rainforest.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, who knows, right? Like it might, it could be 100 years old. It could be bazillions of years old. We don't really know, and we probably never will.
So let me talk to you about some deeper, deeper stuff. Because
Mm.
I know you've written about depression and anxiety before. And I know to be an artist, you are naturally a more sensitive, empathic being in order to tune into those energies. What is it that had you sort of beat up before when you was writing about these things?
Um, oh, look, I think it goes back like all of us, it goes back to childhood. Um, and mine really came from my relationship with my father, which was a turbulent one, I guess, like throughout my lifetime, and for a long time I didn't know how to I guess interpret that, like until I started you know, diving into my own kind of subconscious and figuring out the little stories that had been created over time
Mm,
from that relationship that were kind of affecting me and narrating my life essentially.
mm. Do you feel like do you feel like we're put in those positions in order to have a catalyst for artistic expression? Do you think it's necessary that we sort of go through these things as you look when you look back anyway, and you can see the broader picture of what's happened to you? Um, do you feel like as because I'm going to use I want to use this conversation to dig out parts of my own I
Yeah.
don't know wherever I suffer or wherever I struggle. But at the same time, I can appreciate that these things cause that they are a catalyst for us to express ourselves, and they're sort of necessary.
Yeah, I would even say like it's not even just an artist thing, right? I think like these are things that most people go through. Um, but I guess part of the artistic journey is kind of that exploration, and so maybe artists tap into it or become conscious of it a little bit more
Mm,
than people who aren't in that kind of creative artistic realm.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think like everything in life, from my own experience, I've definitely, I think everything in life is a catalyst to head to point you or push you in the direction that you need to go on your kind of your soul's journey, if you want to call it that. Like I definitely believe in like past lives and future, future lives, whatever the technical term is for that. And and I think that it's just this continuous kind of evolution of the soul. And so, in my experience, yeah, that's what it's felt like to me. It's been like, all right, I've been put on this earth, in this meat suit, to transcend certain things, i.e., you know, relationships
Mm,
and I guess uh, confidence to speak my truth, things like that. Um, and yeah, I think, like I said, I think everyone goes through that to some degree. From conversations I've had with people, like there's I would say 9 out of 10 people that I speak to about these things, they've had similar experiences.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe the path of the artist or the way of the artist is some sort of salvation when it comes to these things, or at least it gives you a way to unpack something quite complex that's happened to you, and sort of when you write songs or when you create art from something, it's a way of expressing the the inexpressible, isn't it? Sometimes through um, this sort of abstract thing that we do as human beings, where we take situations and take experiences and then sort of churn them into emotional paintings, whether that be sonic or whether that be, drawing or whatever. And it's a way for somebody else to absorb all of that, not necessarily in a logical way, but from a bright side brain perspective. They're sort of absorbing it and taking in the understanding and working with it all in a quite subconscious way. And I find that when I'm making things, I don't necessarily always understand the process that I'm going through.
Mm.
It's sort of sometimes I'm doing something and I'm so in the zone that it's only when I stand back from it. And sometimes you can write a song and you can listen to it like a year later, and you're like, you get a whole different meaning of the message you was trying to send yourself,
Yeah,
essentially. And
totally.
sometimes it's like there's something else in that space that's decoding something through you, and you're doing it for yourself, essentially, to try and gain some deeper understanding. And it's coming through in this weird way. And I had a conversation with Anna Forrest and Jose Calaco, and he was saying that that being an artist, going into these creative fields, is like a rite of passage, and it's essential for us to break through this thing that we're suffering with in terms of anxiety and depression. But are there still things that get you down, or do you feel like you have transcended that? Do you feel like it's something that you always have to keep working through and sort of ride the wave of, or do you feel like there can be a place where you are just continuously in that expression of just like,
Yeah,
no,
I think I've definitely like I've my kind of call it like growth journey or whatever you want to call it. Started back in about, well, I mean, it started long before, but when I really started becoming conscious of like my consciousness,
mm,
um, it was back in about 2017, I think. So I've been at it for quite a long time. I was lucky that I'd kind of had a few runs on the board prior to all the COVID chaos as well. So that was a blessing for me, because that made
Yeah,
that
yeah,
process a lot easier. Whereas I think if I hadn't been through that, I would have really struggled. But these days, yeah, I definitely feel like I've transcended something, in a pretty large way.
mm.
Um, but I'm not also, you know, so uh,
Out of the woods just yet.
yeah, like I think it's just natural to kind of go through these cycles in life. Like that is life. Like that is the journey. Like that is nature. Nature. You have your winters, you have your spring, your
Yeah,
autumn,
yeah.
summers. Like you go through cycles. Like that is nature. And so, I have times where I'm, maybe a little bit down, but I don't. I think I don't sit in that kind of resonance or vibration or whatever you want to call it now for anywhere near as long as I used to, because I have not only tools to work through it, but acceptance that, like, yeah, this is just part of the journey, and this too will pass, and it's all cool. And I don't beat myself up about it, I guess.
Mm.
But it wasn't always that way. Like I totally empathize with people that maybe haven't um, done those yards yet, and they've kind of just got to, I think you do have to just kind of learn through repetition. Like going to the gym and lifting weights and going through that pain, and you know, in a few years' time after you've been through that pain, what you could barely lift, the first time you went to the gym will be a piece of piss for you.
Yeah, I like what you said about your consciousness becoming aware of your consciousness, because although it seems quite I don't know, glib, it's so necessary that that process happens, because like you said, it's not that it goes away, but it's that you sit in it for less time. And the reason you are capable of doing that is because there is something in you now that can stand apart from what's going on with you and go, oh, Shaun's feeling a bit down. And
Yeah,
that part then can take over what needs to happen. And it's almost like there's another part of you that's completely free of it, that's starting to take care of you.
yeah,
And it can witness that, wow, I'm feeling a bit down, but it's kind of separate from me, you know? And okay, what do I need to do? Let me go for a jog, or let me go to the beach, or let me get it
totally.
moving, or let me do something that I know, or let's make a song, let's churn this feeling into something. Um, and maybe that's just that we need to just not focus on me so much, but I don't
Mm.
know, go and do something for someone else. Or like I said, when you're in that process of making a song, particularly, the I is not existing in that moment when you're making a song. There is no I. There is just melodies and words and meanings and pictures and colors and all of this stuff. But in order to translate that and bring it down from wherever that's coming from, you can't exist in that moment. So it's almost like ridding yourself of your own self-importance in existing in that moment. And like you said, there is a sort of separation that happens when you start realizing your own consciousness. Like
Yeah.
how has that changed the way you perceive the world? And how do you feel like you might have perceived it before you started to have that click and that movement towards a wider consciousness?
Yeah, so I guess, like, going back just a step, a big shift for me was realizing that suffering was a choice.
Mm, mm, yeah,
That I was choosing to suffer every
yeah.
time I was suffering. It was actually me choosing to suffer.
It's very hard to. It feels so wrong to admit that, though, doesn't it? Like a lot of
Yeah,
people.
well, that's the ego, right?
How could you say that I've chosen this? Why would I choose this? Why would
Yeah.
I? Why would
So,
I make
so
myself go through this? Doesn't make
yeah, so
sense.
that's been the biggest thing for me was really like learning about the ego and I've got this kind of theory and I'm not a scientist or anything, so like, but I do have this like theory that from my own experience that I'm only ever operating from two places. It's either based in ego or it's based in like love or soul, right? And the ego is like limited, and so it's kind of like it will go through that suffering and believe that
Ooh,
that there's no way out, or um and soul the soul is kind of the opposite. It's limitless. It's like, all right, well, I'm not feeling great, but I can transcend this or shift this or um do something to change, flip this around, and I do have a choice, like always. um yeah, so that was probably the biggest thing for me, I think, was realizing that my suffering was always my choice.
yeah. But let me just pause right there. Sorry about that.
Came at an interesting time as well.
I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I realized that suffering was a choice for sure, but I felt really conflicted in believing in that because there's so much destruction, so much wild stuff happening right now in which somebody would be very quick to argue with you that against that case that there are plenty of
Mm,
people on this planet that don't choose their suffering. um and like you said before, maybe this goes back into sort of past lives, or it goes into a deeper layer where the soul is choosing certain things to happen to it in order to catalyze growth, and it's on a
yeah.
level that we can't see, and it's hard to understand, if you're not coming from a place of love, why the soul would even choose that for itself to go through such horrific things. But
Mm,
I think what started to help me as well, moving, which is like the next point from that, or the next place that you kind of get to, is that how would you view these things if you knew that there was a place that a part of you rested in that was eternal, only loving, and didn't die, and has never been born? And it feels like that's a topic that needs excavating when we're going on this sort of like journey of awakening. Did you come
mm.
to a place where you had to accept a deeper fear of death when you was in when you were in a dark place, or you feel like that was part of
Um,
it?
yeah, well, that once again, that goes back to like the ego work, right? Because that is the ego. Like it is scared of any death, essentially,
Mm,
death of an identity, death of being wrong, like that is the ego. That's what it's doing, and it's all by design to protect us, like but it's just outdated. It's no longer We're no longer operating in kind of mammalian kind of
mm,
realms. um I was going to say before as well, is going back to the suffering thing, is that people, I think people, you were saying that people would argue that, and by no means am I saying, like, have you heard the quote, uh, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of that. It's like it's recognizing that there's going to be pain, like that is part of life, and I would even say that is part of love. Because if you think about, like, if you've got a child and you love the absolute out of that child, and you want them to grow up to be the best, strongest child they can possibly be, I would have thought one of the first steps for that child is learning how to walk. And so do you just pull them up on their feet and just, carry them the whole time, or do you have to let them kind of fall down and slam their face on the floor a few times, and cry and go through that pain in order to learn how to walk and carry themselves in the world. That's that the pain is inevitable, and it's part of the growth journey.
Yeah, I agree. Um,
Mm.
that brings to mind that sometimes if you see a statue or an expression on somebody's face or on like a statue's face, it's indistinguishable sometimes if they have a particular expression, whether they're in pain or whether they're in ecstasy. It's very
Mm.
hard to tell with a human expression when those two things start to meet, when they get very close, when you're in either in extreme pain or you're in extreme pleasure. If
Mm.
you was to silence somebody's, whatever they were doing vocally at that moment, if you was to just completely mute them, it would be really hard to distinguish whether they were actually in pain or whether they were actually in complete pleasure.
Yeah,
Um, and it's
I've
and
never
it's
thought about it that way.
and I kind of feel like when you're in bliss, when you have states of bliss or experience bliss, there feels like there's pain in that too. Like it feels like the entire spectrum of emotion comes together and is swirling around. And I don't know whether people think that bliss is just like ah and it's like ultimate pleasure, but I kind of don't see it that way. It feels like that's bliss is sort of like a transcendent pleasure, which is all inclusive of even extremely painful things. And I know, when you have a really good cry, or when you go through something painful, there's actually, I don't know, there's a little kick that you get out of it, especially when you finish crying and you have that release. It's like that pain was so necessary in order for you to have that release, and there's even a bit of like, you have the relief afterwards and the joy afterwards, and that's
Mm.
finally left you, and you wouldn't be able to feel that joy afterwards or the feeling of relief if there wasn't something which was constricting you or contracting you in that moment. So I feel like it's almost like you've got to get out or have moments at least where you can get out of the entire spectrum of
Mm.
emotion, um, because people put too much value on probably feeling good, and then because you put a lot of value on feeling good, now there's a deficit when it comes to feeling bad. But you meditate a lot. How
Yeah,
do you find that, what's the space that you move into when you're meditating, and how did you start? Because I know a lot of people obviously struggle to start doing it because I can't shut my mind off. I'll leave it.
yeah,
Um, like, was there a motivation, or did you like look for teachings, and then like how did that process for you start to mature?
yeah. So in 2015, I think it was, or 16, I was like at rock bottom. I'd kind of made a plan to take my life, and I was a day away from executing that plan. And then shortly after that, I started seeing a psychologist, and they put me onto this book by a guy called Russ Harris called The Happiness Trap. Started reading that, and it started talking about, I think the first practice was as simple as saying, like, when your mind, like, the premise of the book was understanding that your thoughts they're just thoughts, like they're not you,
Mm,
um and and that they can't actually physically harm you in any way, um and and that, in order to counteract those thoughts, you know which is essentially the ego, um your negative thoughts, I should say, is probably essentially the ego.
mm,
um all I had to do was just say thank you, just thank it, just acknowledge it for doing its work, and that was going to bring some relief to all these negative thoughts. And so I started doing that, and sure enough, it did. And I still do it to this day. Like, if I have these negative thoughts kind of coming in, or you know, um, it's not about fighting them or pushing them away. It's like it's actually just acknowledging them, accepting them
Yeah.
for what they are, which is just thoughts. So I started doing that, and I guess that then led me to and then the book also talked about kind of mindfulness practices, going out for a walk and just like and feeling and listening and smelling. And I just remember this the first time I ever kind of I think it was like some kind of awakening. Right? I was out for this walk, and it wasn't anywhere special. It was like I remember I was walking along like a highway, and there's fumes from the cars like coughing up everywhere, and and we've got a store over here in Australia which is called JB Hi-Fi, which is like a hi-fi store. Like you
Mm,
go there to
mm.
get HD TVs and stuff like that. And the way that they set it up over here is they'll just be like this wall of ultra high definition TVs, and they look amazing. You walk in and you go, holy, like, and they've got like David Attenborough playing on there or something, like, um, and you walk in and you look at these ultra HD tellies and you go, whoa, that looks like beyond real. Like it looks just
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And so I'm doing this walk down this highway, and I'm tapping into my senses very deliberately, noticing what I can smell. I remember I went through this habit of just like grabbing leaves off the eucalyptus trees and scrunching them up and shoving them in my nose so I could smell it. And like I was just becoming really present. And then I had this moment where I just woke, like it was like I just woke up, and all of a sudden everything just looked like those HD TVs, but it wasn't HD TVs anymore. It was like it was life. I was like, whoa, like this is, I've been missing out on this for like God knows how long, probably since I was a child, and I think back to like, you look at children and they're always this wide
Yeah.
eyed.
Mm.
And I can imagine that's probably why, because they're seeing reality, like they're seeing their ultimate consciousness, like they're looking around going, whoa, this is like a big trip or something, like, um, and so, yeah, that then and then the next step from there was like, all right, well, I'll start meditating. I was on this trip in Croatia with all my family in about 2017, and I think I'd started becoming curious at that time. I was just practicing like breath meditation, really just focusing on the breath and using that as my anchor point. And then from there it just went down all kinds of crazy wild um, rabbit holes. And I really, my preferred practice now is just transcendental, which is just focusing on a mantra, and using that as your anchor point. And what I say to people as well is when they think that they can't meditate or whatever because they can't shut out their thoughts, I stress them that like that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is to recognize when you're getting kind of pulled away from that mantra by those thoughts, and like that is the practice. Like, it's not about actually eliminating them. It's just about like creating a focus point and noticing when you're getting drawn away by that. I'm like, that's it. That's all there is to it. Like anyone can meditate. And there's no such thing as being a good meditator or a bad meditator. It just is. Like that is meditation. It just is.
Yeah. It's interesting you talking about the HD TVs because that's one thing that I found, especially when I was attuned to Reiki and I started working with energy and moving it around in Qigong. And I'd already had a background in martial arts, so it felt quite natural for me. It felt like the sort of missing link because I'd learnt the form in martial arts, but I hadn't cultivated the energy that moved you into that form in a natural way. So as I started to work with it, I just remember the world just getting so vivid. And I also noticed that when I was in that state of seeing the world in this way, other people would look at me and notice me, and they wouldn't understand why. And even going through like town here in the UK in Birmingham, you go through into the city centre and you'd walk and it would feel like a buzz, you'd feel the buzz of people, and and you'd be in this state, and people would look at you like they'd look at you, and they wouldn't know why they were looking at you, and you would look at them, and I'd find some people also smiling at me, and they wouldn't realize why they've just smiled at me.
Mm.
And things like that, and then you find that your experience starts to get a little lighter, and then the things that you're aligning with in your experience and the people that you start to align with in your experience, they feel a little lighter, and then you kind of feel like, I had a really good day today, and I kind of breezed through all the queues. I didn't get stuck in the traffic, like, or at least the traffic didn't bother me in the same way, or I just flew through those sets of lights, and all the lights turned green as I was going home. And it's sometimes it's you feel like you're gaslighting yourself a bit because you feel like life shouldn't be this easy, but there is a tangible thing that starts to happen where, I don't know, it feels like your reality starts to work with you when
Yeah.
you go into this widened, vivid state. But did you find that influx of data um made you anxious, or did you feel like you was really comfortable with it?
I wouldn't say it made me anxious. I think it was pretty exciting,
Hmm.
but I do think I went through a phase of like needing it, like I was almost like addicted to it kind of thing. And
Hmm.
I had to learn to move through that as well, because life's not always going to be that way. Like, once again, like, going back to what you were saying about like kind of being needing things to always be good or always feel good, like that's just not realistic. But it was, yeah, interesting what you were saying about gaslighting yourself as well. Like I think that's what we've been taught, right? That life can't be easy,
Yeah.
or can't feel easy. So there's some deep seated kind of programming going on there. I think for a lot of us as well that we've got to learn to work through. And um, yeah, I hear you. Like I can, as you were saying all that stuff about people looking at you and that kind of thing. I can relate to all that absolutely. And I think that's they talk about auras and stuff like that. I'm guessing that's kind of what that is. There's some people that walk into a room and you just like your eyes are drawn to them because they're
Yeah.
just like just glowing. They're
Yeah.
literally like you can see them kind of glow. Um, but I think is that every day of the week that they look like that? Probably not. Like they probably have days where they wake up and they just look like death.
Yeah, well, it's chop wood, carry water, and then and pre-enlightenment and post-enlightenment, chop wood, carry water,
Chocolate carry water. I haven't heard that one.
and there is a, like you said, just a necessity when it comes to being okay with mundane reality. And actually, when you are in an artistic place, or at least when you're fostering that creative energy inside yourself, then actually mundane things can become extremely interesting
Yeah,
and thick with meaning and symbolism. Um, and um, and I think that I like what you said about kind of moving past that, because it's making me want to pick apart something within myself where um yeah, like, I'm not, sometimes you're not okay with that mundanity, and it can get you down, and I think that then it can transform into this hopelessness for the future, especially when it comes to like just everything that's going on right now, especially post COVID. It felt like dreams are no longer relevant
mm,
because they can be dashed at any point. We can take away your freedom at any point. Uh, don't bank on all of those long-term plans that you have. And also that brought up a whole lot of, that was linked to our inability to deal with our own mortality as well, to know that this life can just boop, just
mm,
end. And maybe we needed that sorely, in order to realize, hey, just be here. Like, this thing can just be snatched away from you at any point. And and we have shock moments where we realize that, and then it peters away again, and I guess we sort of have to, you do have to keep reminding yourself of like, Jesus, like we really don't get that long here, you know,
Mm.
in order to do what we need to do. Um, but yeah, there is
Yeah,
this,
but they're also at the same time, like through that COVID period, there were people that kept operating as per normal.
yeah,
So, so once again, like the suffering was optional.
yeah,
I did it. I stayed in my house and I refrained from for a while anyway, until I started to realize how crazy it all was. But I definitely, in Melbourne, they were doing curfews.
mm,
there were a few people that got like fined for taking their bin out after 8 o'clock. Um, uh, and so yeah. But like I said, there were other people that maybe did their due diligence, learnt the law, and realized that half the stuff that was being said was, mandatory. It wasn't a law. It was it was just it was just you know a play on words. And
guidance. Yeah,
yeah, and so they kept on operating as per usual, and they just went about their life and
yeah,
didn't let all the bullshit affect them. So once again, like I said, like I think it's just taking that extreme like ownership of like your suffering is optional, and I say that with love, like
mm,
because I think it has to be said.
yeah,
And that's not to say that, like, if they turn up at you, if someone turns up at your front door with a gun pointed to your face, that's not threatening or painful. Um, but the way you let that affect you is there is an option. Once again, like if someone is slandering you or something, but they're slandering you in a language that you don't actually understand, you might actually think it's funny. You might actually interpret it as like, wow, that's hilarious. Like I can't understand what this person's saying, but they look so aggravated and like
hmm,
they're red in the face. So once again, like it's people they think that what someone else has said to them is like what got them down. It's like, well, no, it's the way that you interpreted that
yeah.
and the way you chose to act afterwards.
It's literally like a
Like
switch,
it's
yeah, that we need to turn.
yeah, it's a hard it takes a lot of like courage, I guess, to
Yeah,
really like swallow that pill.
yeah,
But when you do, life changes, and life changes far for the better because
yeah,
you realize like, wow, like everything is optional essentially. Like I own every little bit of my life.
yeah, yeah.
I'm responsible for every single piece of it, and that's actually empowering.
Yeah, there's this inner world that you start to create you create this boundary for this inner world to exist separately from the outer world.
Mm,
And it's like you put up the garden fence, and then it or you put up the walls, and then it allows for the elements to just stay out, and then you can start decorating the house and fixing it up the way you want and cleaning it up and replacing the old beams and taking out the rot and stuff. But you need to sort of create these walls in order to protect you, in order for you to do the work inside the house.
mm,
um and yeah, I wonder what would happen collectively if we all start clicking into place that everything is happening because each person's individual soul has decided to have certain experiences which teach them certain things, and everybody's journeys are interconnected, and everybody that you meet, your journeys are interconnected. Then and then whatever happens, you can start saying, well, what have I learned from that, or why did that happen? And
mm,
you're looking at it from a different angle rather than why has this happened to me. It's sort of like, what is this? Why have we agreed for this to come and both teach us both something in this? And life becomes, a curriculum that's moving you towards something ultimately beneficial and benevolent, rather than a system or this this evil nature that is attacking you all the time
Mm,
and wants to just kill you and annihilate you. But it's like you said, it's extremely painful to admit that you're the one doing it to yourself.
mm,
And that's enough to put you off. I think it's enough to put you off a lot of the time because you have to feel it. You have to feel what you repressed and shoved down inside yourself from that 5 years of age period to the 7 years or whatever it is that's that development stage. And or to admit that it comes up and you've got to feel it completely and wholly, and especially as artists and creatives who are out there, because I really want this our talk to kind of speak to them, because I know that
mm,
there are tons of just depressed artists out there now, especially with
mm.
the way the music industry is. You know what I mean? And but when you break through, like you said, once you break through that membrane, life really does transform, and you can trust that it's going to transform. Like you can trust that there is actually a process, really tangible process happening where your reality starts to just, I don't know, just it does transform into something which is benefiting you. Um, what do you say? Because you tour so much, and you're coming to London soon. I can't wait to meet
Yeah,
you,
yeah, likewise,
and
bro.
see you. Um, and you manage to stay so creative and expressive in that way in in a world now where the music industry is like completely collapsing. Um, like how do you what's in your mind when it comes to that? Like do you focus on it? Do you just focus on just singing and being with people? How do you not let that part of music sort of affect you? Or if it does, it might do.
No, it doesn't really.
That's
Because
good.
I think,
Like, I need to feed into this. I want to feed into this. So,
yeah, I think I've just come to the realization that once again, like it's all on me. It's got nothing to do with like what everyone else is doing or feeling, or it's all kind of up to me. It's my choice. Like if I want to go out there and tour, I'll make a tour happen. Like I don't need. I think a lot of musicians fall into the trap, and I was certainly guilty of this for probably the first 10 years of my career. Falling into the trap of believing that they need a manager and an agent and a publicist and a you know personal assistant and someone to shine their boots every night and like everything in order to go and put on a show. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You just got to get on the phone and call someone and start building relationships with people that run the venues and festivals and whatever. And yeah, festivals are going down the drain at the moment, it seems. But well, go start your own festival. I'm involved with this festival over in Australia now called the Living Free Festival, and we're
mm,
just I can't probably go too far deep into the background of it all publicly, but we're kind of reshaping the festival model so that we're eliminating a lot of the things that are throwing other festivals into the red.
mm,
Um, and once again, it's just like that is that's by choice. It's very deliberately by choice. And yeah, I just think a lot of artists, like I said, I was guilty of it for a long time. Just they they're putting too much kind of power out there and
yeah.
not like bringing enough of it in here and realizing how powerful they are and what they're actually capable of.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. It can feel like, especially in recent years, as I have witnessed just a decline in like quality creativity. And it's interesting because it feels like it can give you less to feed off of in terms of the culture now.
Mm,
Like you listen to you go back into the, well, just any time before kind of early 2000s really, and there's incredible muses there for you to strip from.
Yeah.
And it just feels like we're on the precipice of a renaissance period. It feels like that's what's necessary now for us to have this explosion of like culture and arts and creativity. And now we have AI that is sort of here to take care, which should be here anyway, to take care of the remedial tasks,
Mm.
and allow humans to just start carpentry again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And make crafts and make
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
things and start trading them and live live like how we're supposed to live, but with
Yeah.
technology supporting us. But at the same time, I look out and it feels like we've been completely stripped of culture, stripped of our creativity, um, and stripped of our muses.
Mm.
Um, and it's kind of forcing me at least to go deeper inside myself to try and have a creative muse that's different. I know a lot of artists now are just parroting a formula that can hopefully get them views on TikTok, signed by a label, and so on and so forth. And then when you're chasing that, you find yourself in that hamster wheel of trying to chase being relevant or something. Then Jesus, that really does make you anxious and depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've even found myself at moments where I think, would people like this or that? And then I'm like, even immediately having that thought, that thing goes in my stomach, and I'm like, oh God, it really gets you when you start. Oh yeah, but are people going to connect? Are people going to this and that? And just like in the meditation, it's like you're pulling that helium balloon down each time and anchoring yourself back in. Like no 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 no, that's not
Yeah.
that's not healthy for me. Like where is that source of inspiration for you to write and like come up with new stuff? Like how does that process happen for you?
I think it's just knowing what I enjoy, like, and just connecting with that, just connecting with my joy. Like, even like today, like I've definitely like I think one of the big reasons I first started getting into touring was the adventure aspect of it, and so I've made a very deliberate choice, kind of starting this year, because I kind of took my foot off the accelerator for a year and a half,
Mm,
2 years there,
mm,
and I've really got back into it this year. And I've made a very deliberate choice that like I will step back into that adventurer kind of mindset that I
mm.
started out with, because that's what made it fun. It was
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm into all these new places that I've never been before. And so now, like, I'm not, if some gig, comes up and or that someone approaches me and says, "Hey, we'd love you to come do this gig at this place," but we don't really have the budget which I'd usually kind of be looking for or whatever. I'd say 8 times out of 10, I'm going to say yes, just because if they can get me there, and I'm not absolutely losing money on it. I'll take it just because of that, because there's a sense of adventure to it. I'm going to a new place. That's going to keep the rest of it exciting. Like when I'm going to those places that I've been to 1,000 times, I'm playing that same venue that I've played 10 times and still haven't sold out or whatever. Um, that's going to keep it exciting. So I've really like been trying to like tap into that. Um, and yeah, kind of what was your original? Oh, what keeps me kind of motivated in terms of writing new songs? I think like just having that curiosity about the world, right? Like and humans, and so like even today, like I'm reading To Kill a Mockingbird at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And I never realized what the meaning of that was, but like it's essentially like sin. Like to kill a mockingbird is a sin. It says it in the book. I read the chapter today, and like that really stood out to me. And I was like, wow, there's definitely a song in that, like where you can kind of like hide sin behind the phrase "kill a mockingbird" or something like that. Like
Yeah.
um. So like it's just forever having that curiosity and like just being in touch with what lights you up. And for me, it's like it's writing songs traveling, adventuring, and performing for people and like inspiring people. Like it's really like it's there's not that much else that like I mean there's lots of things, but like those are like the main kind of culprits, right? That will put a massive smile on my face and make me feel alive. So it's just like it's just connecting with those and staying in touch with those as often as I possibly can and not letting the rest of the distractions outside of those kind of get to me because there's so many distractions if you want to let them in. Um, but I just, I do my best to just kind of like fend them off and just go, no, that like recognize that that's a distraction. See you later. And, back on my path. And yeah.
Yeah, I've loved speaking with you, and I like being in your energy because there's a simplicity,
Mm,
and that's very freeing because I look at you and I feel your energy, and it puts me in a place of blankness, almost, of like, just get on with it. Like, just get on with it.
yeah.
This is what it is. A pure, maybe it's a energy of acceptance. It feels like a very deep energy of acceptance in you
Yeah.
that I feel into. And it makes me feel very peaceful. And just and makes you feel just like you can handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels
Mm,
like. And maybe people need to be around people that make them feel like that more. Because I know, like, you can go to a counselor, and you can go to your GP, and you can go to so many different people. But if they don't feel okay in themselves, there's something that doesn't quite connect. I know for me
yeah.
anyway, I need to be around somebody who is in that energy in themselves of deep acceptance, non-judgment,
Yeah.
compassion, love, and and regardless of whether they go through, they have ups and downs or whatever, that's sort of like a baseline thing that they're hooked into, or they're anchored into, and it just changes your energy field. And when you sit
Mm,
with somebody like that, there's this unspoken transmission that happens where you start to feel what it feels like to be okay with ultimate suffering, essentially,
yeah.
because you're just absorbing from their energy field, and it's changing your energy field, and there is an actual felt presence that you can be with it all. You can be with it all, and that's what I think. And I think that that's what you would offer people when they're in your presence at shows, and when you're singing, and everything that you are gets put into that transmission, isn't it? It's like who I have behind me here. Like, you can
Yeah.
listen to that music now, and you get the complete transmission of where he was. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what you can offer the world through when you're making music, and when you're just being.
Totally. Yeah. The part of me, like the whole time, many times through this conversation, has been wanting to bring up like the perfectionist thing because I think that's what a lot of us tend to tap into, especially musicians. Like we
Yeah.
tend to tap into this perfectionist thing where we want everything to be lined up perfectly for us in order for us to take action on X, Y, and Z. And the reality is that it's just that one, it doesn't have to be that way. And that it's okay to just kind of be messy and just kind of trudge through things um,
Mm.
and two that it's not actually realistic.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I think like going back to before, like you were saying like that acceptance thing, like I think and the ability to kind of like handle anything that comes your way. Um, I think that I've learnt that through going through things and coming out the other side of them and realizing, well, I'm still here. Every hard thing, every hard day I've ever been, I think there's some saying that every hard day I've ever been through didn't kill me.
Yeah.
So, like, you can, and everyone who's listening to this, they are living proof of that as well. Like, because every hard thing that they've ever been through, they've got through it. Like, they're still here, they're listening, they're watching. Um, so when you realize that, you start to really believe in your own power, I think.
Mm. And
and
that's, yeah.
resilience.
Mm.
And I think, not only I was going to say nature is, kind of resilient, and we're part of resilient. We're part of nature, sorry, but yeah, I think humans are very resilient. Like that's
To-
in our nature,
yeah.
to dust ourselves off and try again, and yeah, I think I think what you were saying before, I'm just glad that that resonates with you, like, because that's certainly what, not that it's something that I deliberately try and put out into the world, but when I hear it said back to me, I go, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, I think it's something that recently I realized is that, who you are in your biggest form, say, or your most complete form, or when you're just being yourself, that is the mission. That is the
mm,
purpose. You are slotting into that very particular frequency that has been carved out for you and only you. When you are just yourself, when you feel completely at ease in yourself, you slot right into the toaster of where you're
yeah,
supposed to be in the collective. And that is the purpose. There's nothing
yeah,
else. There's nothing else other than just you being you. There's nothing else to do because you being you will naturally do everything that you need to do. I think it's
exactly.
a Zen quote, which is like, not doing nothing, but nothing is left undone.
Yeah,
So like you said, there's just this ease, and maybe the meditation is totally necessary because, like you said before, about realizing that I've gone through this, and I'm okay. That's what the meditation helps you do, because you create these psychological snapshots of the energy that you were in pre insight and the energy that you're in post insight,
mm,
and you measure sort of within yourself the time that it has taken in order for you to transition through that. You watch the process of it coming in, being very strong, starting to dissipate, starting to move out, and then how you feel once it's gone. And then there's a moment, obviously, where you realize where you're just doing your thing again and you've completely forgotten that that ever happened to you. And then you remember that, oh, I just forgot that that whole thing just
yeah,
happened
yeah,
to me. There's that moment that hits again. I think it's Guji for um Uspensky, to writers where he says, I'm going to, okay, from this point on, I'm going to witness everything that I'm doing. And Uspensky is walking down the pavement. Uspensky is going to the shop. Uspensky is opening the door of the shop. And then as soon as he remembered that he needed to buy cigarettes, he'd forgot that he was doing the entire exercise. And it was only,
yeah,
a few days later that he realized, oh God, I was supposed to carry on and do that exercise for like the foreseeable. But and
yeah,
you're watching these waves come in and go out and go in and go out. And as you practice meditation, you that gets more refined, that you can
yeah,
watch the whole thing, and we're then creating these snapshots and proving to ourselves. It's so important that you prove to yourself that you've gotten through that, you've gotten through that, you've gotten through that, that passed. Oh, I felt like that how many months ago, and now I'm a completely different person. And
totally.
sometimes that happens daily for me. I'll wake up and the person who I was the day before, I'm like, God, I have absolutely no recollection of who that was or why I felt that
Yeah.
way, or it's just bizarre. It's such a bizarre experience.
Are you a meditator yourself? Like, do you practice meditation
Oh,
much? Or
well, yeah, all the time.
yeah,
I don't even say that I practice it necessarily, but it's become something which I am continuously pulling myself back into, in
yeah,
terms of that space,
yeah,
throughout my entire day, and right to the point where I'm going to sleep. I'm witnessing myself falling asleep.
yeah.
So
Cool.
it's like, it used to be something that, and I think, maybe people who are starting it becomes something where you have to put a timer on, and sort of you set a time where you really sit with yourself, and it becomes very difficult because all these emotions are coming up and the thoughts are racing as soon as you become quiet, and then you get through the bulk of that, and then your whole experience starts to get a little quieter, and then you just kind of moving in and out of that space in your day.
Mm.
You're turning it on and off,
Yeah.
and it becomes very fluid in that regard. Like I'm going to go for a walk, and you just, all right, I'm going to snap into that place, drop back, and oh, I
Yeah.
need to come into the world. Okay, I need to be practical. My left side of the brain needs to sort of kick in. I need to, and then oh, my body's getting a bit racy. I'm feeling the energy starting to rise a bit. Okay, snap back in, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just
Yeah.
toggling on and off until
Yeah.
potentially maybe you're just in that space all the time. I don't know.
No, I'm definitely not. I definitely, get stuck in my head, probably majority of the day. But um, I think I can totally relate to that, like, snapping in and out of it. For me, like even today, like going for a walk in that jungle or forest or whatever you want to call it, rainforest. Um, and it goes back to the HD TV thing as well. Like the way that I've learned a really easy way to do it is to focus in on like a tree, because I don't know what it is about trees, but you can see like their 3D-ness like really easily if you just focus in on it and you're walking past it. You like you see the full 3D-ness of it, like kind of
It's like one of those paintings that look at you as you.
yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's like. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so that, like, I use that as like, when I'm out walking, I really try it. I still to this day just try and practice that mindfulness thing as much as I can, um, and that's my way of like clicking into that that space, or that meditative kind of experience is, yeah, looking at trees and watching as I'm like just focusing on one tree and focusing as I'm walking past it, and like just noticing how real it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
We
pretty
don't do
cool.
that enough. We don't do that enough.
You don't.
It's. I always think sometimes I have that with language where I envision how words are spelt, and the
Yeah,
more I focus on it, the more absurd it becomes to me. You
yeah.
know, like the more you start to go into it, the more it just warps and becomes something which is very meaningful and very meaningless at the same time, and then it turns into shapes, and then it just turns into just lines, and then it just turns into just absurdity and just
And
nothingness.
then yeah, the more that you say it, it just
Yeah, yeah,
what the hell? Who even like put the meaning of that word to those letters? Like what the
yeah,
hell?
yeah. And
Yeah,
that
crazy.
space is the space which takes us all the way back to the start of that childlike wonder,
Yeah,
where as soon as the brain starts to, it's like a checkmate for your brain almost. Like I've stared at trees before and the bark starts to move and the tree starts to when you're really zoning in, and everything just the left side of the brain almost, it's like it can't operate in that space.
yeah.
It just has to give way for something else to I don't know, operate. For that, it's like something that only the right brain can sort of take in, and it has to, that default mode network has to just shut down in order to be in that space, and things just become absurd, and you're in that childlike wonder where nothing has a name anymore. Like it's not a tree, because a
Mm.
tree is just a designated word that we give it, but it's this weird wooden elephant skin,
Yeah, it's
you
almost like a
know,
being, right?
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It becomes a being in front of you. It becomes a being in
Yeah.
front of you.
Have
And
you ever have you ever done the I spotted some videos a while ago on Instagram or something like that of people like getting trees to kind of like touch them. Have you ever done
yes,
that?
that's a we were.
I did that the other week. It was amazing. It was such an incredible experience. I spoke to the tree, like I spotted this branch that, like, it wasn't like stiff, so it was like, all right, there's some flexibility in this branch. And so I walked over to it and I put my hand up, probably, I don't know, 30 centimeters away from like enough for it to like be obvious that, like, all right, this isn't just like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
branch going back to where it naturally lies. And I put my hand up and started speaking to the tree and saying, with love, and come and show me that you can hear me, touch my hand. And I was probably there for a good probably 10 minutes, but slowly you could just see it kind of going like this, like just try to reach, like, and eventually it was just sitting on my hand. I was actually like just sitting on my hand, like it was like it was holding my hand. And it was such a profound experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny how these conversations are happening because I had a conversation with Anna Forrest and she said that she goes to a tree regularly every day and she would meditate under it. And the one time she remembered sitting under it and having a really bad migraine, and but she was kind of sitting through it and sending prayers, and then the tree just started to come down and just pat her on the head, and the
Mm,
patting got harder and harder and harder, and she said my headache went away.
yeah.
And that's something that we work with in Reiki as well, with working with trees, and and allowing them to to heal you and move your energy and move the excess energy anyway and ground it for you. Um, but yeah, it just I love being in your presence of that childlike wonder. I feel like I can tap into it. I feel like I've been able to tap into it during this conversation, and I can leave this conversation now feeling at peace and feeling that artistic wonder that you so naturally have. So thank you for that. Like I really
Oh,
appreciate that.
all good, bro.
And
Yeah.
you when are you in London?
Um, Coming in August. I'll be in
Okay.
London on I think it's the first. I should have the dates in front of me, shouldn't I? If I was
Oh,
a
what
pro.
are you doing? Are you? Ah, man, you just go with the wind, bro. You just go with the wind.
Yeah, that's it. I think I'm there on the 6th. It's around the 6th of all.
Well,
Like the tour goes from about the 6th till the 17th, I think, or maybe the 5th. Like around that time. But I'm playing at the Troubadour in London, and I'm playing Leicester and Manchester and a place called Barnoldswick. I don't know if you've ever been to Barnoldswick, but
there's
um,
so many random little towns in this country, man. That
yeah.
they're just like,
Where else am I going? Down to Brighton or to
yeah,
Hove,
beautiful.
um, and Manchester. I go up to Belfast, and then I finish in like Dublin.
Oh,
So
amazing, amazing way to finish. What an
yeah,
amazing way to finish. How can people find out the exact dates then?
yeah. If they just go to my website, which is just Shaun Kirk, so SHAUN Kirk KIRK.com /tour. They'll find all my tour dates there, and they'll probably just have to scroll down a bit because there's about 20 before I get to the UK. So
I just, I just, that's amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait to meet you. I just
yeah,
realized that
likewise.
we did the same thing. We wear like this. We wore like chose like the same t-shirt to wear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought I'd wear
All the
my
sleeves
little
up.
sharks necklace, and because it made me think of Australia. So
That's cool. I'm in the market for a nice necklace at the moment. I found some cool like leather wristbands. There's lots of like where I'm at the moment in North Queensland. There's lots of like like alligator skin and all that kind of thing.
get yourself
So I'm
some python skin
not quite
boots.
game. Yeah, not really too game to wear the alligator skin, but yeah, found some nice little leather bracelets and stuff. And but I'm in the market for a nice
It's
necklace.
coming to
So
you. It's coming to you.
maybe I'll find something in the UK when I'm there.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Yeah,
Well, thank you
yeah.
so much for speaking with me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you. It's such
And
a pleasure. And congrats on all the everything that's going on for you, man. It's really exciting to watch from across the other side of the globe. That first track was killer, and I can't wait to hear the next one.
I really appreciate it, man. I'm just honestly just following the breadcrumbs. I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on. Just following the breadcrumbs. But
it is
it's
best way to do it. Yeah,
yeah,
just
man. It's
go
fun. It's fun.
go with the flow, as they say, and yeah, just keep it fun, keep it exciting as much as you can by, like I said earlier, like tapping into the things that like truly light you up and making them your priority, and not
Yeah,
letting all the rest of the bullshit get in the way, because
yeah, man.
most of the time it is just that, it's just bullshit.
You're so right. You're so right. Thank you so much. And
Cool, man.
I'd love to do this again. We've got to do this again
Yeah,
sometime.
totally.
Amazing. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man.